From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, September 15th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Supervisors, 9 a.m. meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Board to reconvene. The first item is roll call.
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. The next item is the salute to the flag. It will be led this morning by Supervisor Maggard.
Please rise. Salute. Pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You all took a moment of prayer, silence, or meditation without even being asked to do so. Thank you. That's true, we do need it. Probably more than a minute or a moment. The next item is the pet of the week. Nick Cullen is up in Butte County, I think, right now, helping with all the wildfires and with evacuation of animals up there. So Sally Breyer, the assistant director or deputy director, forgotten which one it is, Sally, is here to do pet of the week and introduce us to Rosie.
Rosie. She's a 3.5-month-old mixed breed puppy. We think she might have some pit bull in there or some beagle, maybe some lab. We're not quite sure, but she's looking for her forever home.
Well, have we adopted out every single one that we've done?
Every single one.
Okay, Rosie, don't let us down. Be a good girl. She's cute.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. All items listed with a CA or a C above the, before I do that, I need to go to the...
No, go ahead and read.
Okay. All items with a CA or a C above the item number are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. We can act on those all in one motion. Is there anyone here that would like, or excuse me, on the line that would like to speak to any of those items?
Yes, we have two people who want to speak to items. Do you want to read through the consent agenda items and then we'll hear them?
I was going to do that next, before they got started. The consent agenda, no one is here, so I can't tell you to go to the back of the room. Well, there's some people here, but they're staff. Can't tell you to go to the back of the room to pick up an agenda, but the consent agenda starts on page 2, consists of items 1 through 7. On to page 3, it's all the items 10 through 16. Page 4, all the items 17 through 25. Page 5, item 26, and then 29 through 31. And we're going to be adding an item, a non-agenda item, after item 28. On page 6, it's all the items 32 through 38. Page 7, all the items 39 through 46. Page 8, all the items 47 through 53. Page 9, items 54 through 58. So, we have some people that would like to speak to.
Yes, sir, we do. We have Jennifer Henry, the Executive Director of Links for Life. She would like to address the board concerning item number 5, the proclamation that the board proclaimed. And I'm going to put up on the screen, before Jennifer speaks, I'm going to put up a slide that you and the public can see. And now, Ms. Henry, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
Good morning, board members. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for proclaiming October Breast Cancer Awareness Month again this year. We appreciate your support over the many, many years, actually 27 plus, that we've been part of the Kern County community. On the slide, you'll notice that we're kicking off Breast Cancer Awareness Month on October 3rd with a virtual walk because we can't walk anywhere particularly, so we're just going to walk everywhere. We actually have members that have registered in Spokane, Washington, Texas, and Washington, D.C. We hope to have you all join us in the walk. Registration's right there on your screen, minimum $30 donation. And gather with your friends, the people that you can be around, and go out and walk and support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. 1 every 2 minutes in the United States will be diagnosed. We'll have approximately 400 women diagnosed in Kern County this year, and we'll lose approximately 90 of them. We can't do this without the Kern County community and supporting Links for Life. We are 100% local. All of our funding stays here to take care of the women and men and families who are facing this. So if you don't walk, you swim, you dance, you can do it that way. You can hashtag on social media, support Links for Life, or hashtag LIU20. And we can gather the pictures and share them on our stuff. And Supervisor Couch, you were there in that picture along with a very fancy flamingo. And we want to thank you. And do you have any questions for me?
I don't see any questions from the board, but thank you very much. That was a really nice event you had last year, and I'm sure it'll be the same this year.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have a representative from Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, Emma De La Rosa. She would like to address the board on item number 26, and she supplied you with an email that you received yesterday, and you have a hard copy in front of you. So, Ms. De La Rosa, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
Good morning, members of the board. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all today. I'm calling to respectfully urge the board to consider and implement the recommendations listed on the document for the Rental and Mortgage Assistance Program to ensure all county residents can fully navigate and benefit from the program. We recommend that proof of payment be provided to both parties to prevent bad actors from demanding payments that have already been submitted. Applications for the assistance should not require an onerous amount of documentation or criteria that will hinder participation in the program and that can lead to the exclusion of the undocumented community or other vulnerable populations. Outreach and program materials must be provided in Spanish, Punjabi, Mixteco, and Tagalog. Those are all languages commonly spoken in Kern. Translation services should also be provided for additional languages. The 211 call center should also provide information on tenant protection rights under AB 3088 and the CDC evictions moratorium to help supplement the local efforts to prevent evictions. Lastly, we strongly urge the board and administrative agencies to partner with grassroots organizations and CBOs in outreach efforts. CBOs and grassroots organizations have been in the front line since the start of the pandemic and will be a powerful player in identifying county residents and hard-to-reach populations who may be in need of the assistance. Please take some time to review the document provided to you. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with the administrative agencies along with other CBOs to provide outreach for this program and education on AB 3088 and CDC evictions moratorium. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much.
That concludes public comment on consent agenda items.
Okay, with public comment concluded, do you need to jump in there?
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Gleason? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to abstain from item number 51 this morning because of my wife's income at the Ridgecrest Regional Hospital.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking for a motion on the consent calendar.
Motion.
Oh, we're not reconvening. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Please cast your votes.
Thank you. I had to reflect the chair as absent. So the motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. That takes us over to item 8 under public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any this morning, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do. Our first speaker is Larry Moxley. Mr. Moxley, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Larry Moxley, representing Kern Refuse Disposal. This includes Howard's Garbage, Price Sanitation, Superior Sanitation, Varner Brothers, Varner and Son, also included Lamont Sanitation and Mountainside. As you know, we have been undertaking audited financials at the request of the Solid Waste Department, and we've been working diligently on that. We're running into a time crunch, and we have a deadline of September 30th. There's been a lot of work on this, but the entire system, all of your franchise haulers are doing that. There's a select few companies that do this work, can do this work. And so we're going to be asking today that you direct staff to extend that deadline from September 30th this year to January 31st of next year. And in order to help understand why, I have also going to speak in a moment, Patrick Hoffman, a partner with the accountancy firm of Barbich, Hooper, King, Dill, and Hoffman, and he will give you some things to consider. Again, this is for Howard's Garbage, Price Sanitation, Superior Sanitation, Varner Brothers, Varner and Son, Lamont Sanitation, Mountainside. And although I do not represent Valley Garbage, nor have I spoken to them, they are both a part of Zone 2, and they recently lost their matriarch, Mrs. Eldridge, as Westside Waste has lost Mr. Hampton. So it may be to your liking to give them consideration in this request also. With that, I will step away and let Mr. Hoffman share his thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the line, we have Patrick Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Good morning, board members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. I'm a CPA and a partner, as Larry said, at Barbich, Hooper, King, Dill, Hoffman. Our firm's been serving local clients for 40 years, I myself for 23 years. We've been engaged and are currently preparing the audited financial statements for 7 of the refuse franchise haulers that have been requested by the Public Works Department of the County of Kern. None of these haulers we represent has been required to provide audited financial statements in the past. And the request is for audits for 17, 18, and 2019. And in order to audit 2017, we also have to audit beginning balances as of 2016. So we essentially have 4 years worth of audits for 7 different haulers, 28 audits in total. This is in addition to our existing workload. So to give you an example, an audit, from beginning to end normally takes 8 weeks. It's a little different this time around with brand new audit clients who have never been through the process before, so it takes longer. There's a learning curve for management and staff on the process involved. Most of these haulers are using cash basis method of accounting, and audit requires accrual basis. And as the auditors, we cannot help them convert from cash to accrual. Some of these haulers also have a limited accounting staff, so they use their CPAs for help, so that requires additional time to coordinate efforts with those CPAs, as well as just the challenge of tracking down documents that date back as far as 2016. The other issue we're coming across is, of course, COVID-19, which has created inefficiencies due to having to conduct audits remotely, staffing issues with some employees working from home, as well as tax deadlines getting pushed to July 15th, which has compacted the workload. For these reasons, we respectfully request that the deadline be extended from September 30th to January 31st.
Thank you, Mr. Moxley and Mr. Hoffman. Do we have any other speakers this morning?
No, that concludes public comment for this morning.
Okay, I see no one on no board members that would like to comment, but let me, there's been a request made. Supervisor Magger, would you like to take that?
If you want to go first, it's fine.
I was just going to, well, you go right ahead. I'll chime in wherever I think wherever there's some gaps where there probably won't be.
Okay. Mr. Moxley and Mr. Hoffman are asking for some extra time to complete these audits. I know a bit about that industry and the auditing industry, and it's a very, very, COVID has done many things, including extend some tax deadlines and whatnot. And bottom line is CPA firms are very much in a time crunch. And in light of a couple of those pertinent deaths and that crunch that those CPA firms are in, this is beyond the control of the individual companies that we're asking to provide the audits. So I would suggest to staff that we do indeed give them until January 1 to be able to complete the performance of those audits. And I know that's not on us for an action item this morning, but I hope we can give that message to staff that at least it's my perspective that should be the case.
That was going to be my question. Thank you for that. How do we actually do that? Does that take an action by the board, or is three or four of us just nodding and saying that's okay with us good enough?
I believe you could make a referral to staff to either to report back to you. I believe Mr. Pope will be here this afternoon.
Okay. Is that sufficient for the board members?
Please consider that referred.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Maggard, and thank you, gentlemen. Any other public presentations?
No.
So that's item 8. Go to item 9 now, and that is board member announcements and reports. Mr. Constantine, this is usually the time where you tell us all about what your department is doing with COVID.
Yes, sir, Mr. Couch, Supervisor Couch. So today we are announcing there are 66 new cases identified and 1 death. Those numbers are lower. We've been trending lower for the last couple weeks, which is good news, and we're hopeful that we can maintain that. I did want to talk about 2 changes from the state. We've briefly mentioned this before. The state has, again, made some changes to their monitoring metrics. As we've talked about publicly before, they are now measuring just 2 areas to gauge how the county is performing. The one is the case rate. This is the average number of new now daily cases that's averaged over 7 days, and the percent positivity. So we're just now looking at those 2 metrics. The state runs these metrics once a week, every Tuesday, and as of this morning, we have new numbers. Our case rate needs to be below 7, and our unadjusted case rate as of this morning is 6.7. So we're below what we should be, which is below the higher tier. Testing positivity needs to be below 8%, and we're at 7.1%. Now, however, the state has added an additional modifier to our case rate, and they are adjusting our case rate because our testing, the amount of testing we're doing in the county is low. And so they compare Kern's average daily test rate per 100,000, and they compare it to the state's average. So our average test rate is 150 people per day per 100,000, and they compare us to the state average, which as of today is 216. So they're indicating that we're not testing enough. And because we're not testing enough, they are adjusting our case rate up. So although it is actually 6.7, the state is adjusting it to 7.5, which puts us over the tier and keeps us in our current tier 1 now, our purple tier. The state has indicated in order for us to remove that adjustment, we have to test 607 people more a day so that we meet the state's average. And this is reassessed every week. The important part of this is we have been making significant strides in our numbers. They're coming down. If we didn't have the adjustment, we'd actually be meeting Tier 2, the red tier, which would allow other businesses to open up. We have to maintain that for 14 consecutive days to achieve that new level. But with the adjustment, it puts us over a little bit, so we still have some more work to do. And finally, the state on Sunday came out with something called the Health Equity Metric, and this is another component to how we measure our success. And I'm going to read this to you. It says each county's census tracts will be divided into quartiles based on its California Healthy Places Index. It's a composite measure of socioeconomic disadvantage that is widely used by local, regional, and state governmental agencies. The highest quartile is used as the benchmark against which the lowest quartile test positivity is compared. County performance will be measured using the difference between the test positivity rates and the lowest HPI quartile census tracts compared to the highest quartile census tract, also known now as the test positivity difference, or TPD. A TPD of greater than 1 indicates the presence of disparities and that the lowest quartile has a higher testing positivity than the highest quartile. Then it says that counties have 6 weeks to achieve a 10% decrease in their testing positivity difference. If they do not, then they cannot progress into the less restrictive tier until they've met this target. This threshold achievement is also required for every subsequent tier progression. In Kern County, our TPD is 6.5. So it needs to be, since it's greater than 1, we have a disparity that needs to be addressed. And within 6 weeks, we need to reduce that disparity by 10% in order to continue our progressions down in the tiers. This hopefully will be accomplished with some of the work that we're doing with the Latino Task Force and a group of additional individuals that represent Building Healthy Communities and some other groups that will bring a contract forward in the coming weeks to try to address those disparities and try to address those issues. But the important part of today's discussion is to understand that not only is there a case adjustment modifier that's being applied, we now have a health equity metric that we must meet within 6 weeks to continue our progression through the tiers. So Supervisor Couch, that concludes my comments. I can tell from your expression there's some more confusion. And
well, you'd have to walk me through that equation I think you just described. What are they driving at?
They want areas that have higher testing positivity to be given additional resources to try to help those that perhaps live in areas that have higher rates. That's the bottom line.
And they couldn't just say that.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Stay close because I'll ask if there's any questions from the board before this is also the time where we usually go to Supervisors Maggard and Scribner for an update on their ad hoc committee activities, but board members may have questions right now. Supervisor Maggard, are you punched in to do the ad hoc report? Okay, I don't see any questions for you currently, so let's go to you, Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Let's start on a good note, and then I'll come back and talk about those changes that the governor's making and some of the consequences. We were very, very fortunate yesterday to have a visit from the United States Surgeon General. And he came here. We had very short notice. I don't know how the world works, but in the middle of the night, Supervisor Scribner received an email, and he can tell you more about that. But I just want to commend Supervisor Scribner Mr. Alsop, Mr. Constantine, and Mr. Judd, and many other staff people who helped accommodate and make this thing work. It was, we all have to do the dog and pony show on occasion and entertain people that come and want to see things. But this was different than my experience with those. He was very refreshing, very candid. He gave us insights into how some things are being done at the national level, about his optimism for some kind of an antidote to the disease, why that is being done, not to compromise any safety protocols, but a very, very extensive explanation about the bureaucracy that's been cleared and some arbitrary things that caused the process to be slow in the past. Those things are just, they parted the seas to make sure that's not the case. And 6 companies are simultaneously pursuing that. The federal government spent over $1 billion preparing. He explained some about how the mechanics of how I'm trying to think of the shot that you get. I'm losing the word for that. Yeah, vaccine. Thank you. About how vaccines are developed, and that usually one company, the one that's furthest ahead, ends up kind of being separated from the pack, and they pursue it, and the others back off because there's no profitability in it. If one company has the answer, why would there be 5 or 6 different ones? Well, here they've changed that completely, and it's whatever money is necessary to be spent to make sure all of them are pursuing this with the same vigor. And it might be at the end that somebody is 99% there, but the one that gets all the way home will be finished. So he just explained that they're spending great resources to make sure that those things are moving forward. So I thought that was refreshing to hear some explanation that is not spun by politics. It is not a particular some way to try to move the needle so that the public reacts a certain way. It's just the dynamics of how it's being developed. I thought one of the most compelling things he said, in my opinion, was that he needs and we need our help from our own people to help ourselves. And that is, he talked about his 3 W's: to wear a mask, to wash your hands, and to watch your distance from one another. He explained a circumstance where there was a recent circumstance where 100 people were exposed to 2 positive employees in a business, but all 100 of the staff that were exposed to them had on masks, and the 2 people that were positive had on masks. Not one person got sick. He said that is the crucial part for us to try to get our businesses back open again, is to work on wearing these masks. So we should all be doing that all the time, indoors and outdoors. He made that crystal clear that that's the case. When you're with your family in your own home, that's something different. But when you're out in public, you should have those on. So that's a good reminder, and I'll put mine on as soon as I'm done speaking to the microphone here. So I thought that was helpful. But I was just very, very pleased to have him here. And the other thing that I was delighted with was that we struggle here having the most current reagent that is necessary to test those that need to be tested. He explained very, very thoroughly it is not necessary to test everyone. He didn't say this, but my conclusion after hearing him is the philosophy the state of California has, that everybody should be tested, and they keep pushing this, foisting this upon us, is not going to solve the disease. He explained that you didn't test everybody in the country when TB was a problem here. You didn't do that with polio. You test people who are ill, so you can tell where they got ill from. That's tracing, and that you can then isolate them and treat them. It is not necessary to test every person out there, because the next day you could be, the test is obsolete the moment you walk out of the room and you're exposed to someone else. So it was just a very, very useful and informative day, and I want to thank all those that were involved in making that happen, and the yeoman's job that Mr. Judd, Mr. Constantine, Mr. Alsop, and Supervisor Scrivener did in making that happen. Now, I'd like to speak just for a moment about these changes that the state of California is making. It is particularly now this equity one, as we move forward in this process, it is quite clear that someone or some group in Sacramento is thinking of new ways they want to tweak the world and what results they'd like to see in our society and our culture, and they're loading that into these metrics that we're receiving. It just points out the complete arbitrary nature and unfairness of the process that he is causing now us to be measured by circumstances that are completely beyond our control. And he knows, the governor knows they're beyond our control, because he knows good and well what the demographics are of Kern County. He knows good and well about the incidence of the disease in some of those demographic sectors of our society. And it's just very, very frustrating to me that he's doing that. So I'm going to let and rely on Supervisor Scribner in a moment to make a referral about this, but it is abjectly not fair that we continue to meet every challenge that they put before us, and they continue to put more challenges in front of us, all with the consequence of slowing down whether or not businesses survive and jobs survive, whether or not people are able to go into their worship service on a Sunday or a Wednesday or whatever, Saturday or whatever day they do it, a Friday, they're able to go into their worship service and have hope that they can get through this. Those things are being denied because of these arbitrary decisions. And it not only is quite possibly wrecking our economy, but it is wrecking the lives of the people that we represent. So I am very, very much in favor of us making that crystal clear to the governor. And with that, I will defer to my colleague, Supervisor Scribner, and let him much more adequately articulate that.
Well, I don't know if I can, but I'll do my best. Thank you, Supervisor Maggard, and thank you for your partnership and your leadership on the ad hoc committee. It was a great visit, I think, yesterday. We had, as Supervisor Maggard mentioned, I received an email on Thursday night from a special assistant to the president from the White House, and he said, can I give you a call in the morning? And I said, sure. Here's my phone number. And so we talked in the morning about what they were interested in, to some extent, as far as Dr. Adams, the Surgeon General, seeing and experiencing when he came out to Bakersfield in Kern County. So we quickly got to work between Mr. Alsop and Mr. Constantine and Bren Kerrigan in Constantine's office, and of course Supervisor Maggard, to put together a day that we thought would be reflective of the efforts that we have done here as a board and as a county, the alternative care site, the efforts that Supervisor Couch had put in the farm workers testing, mobile testing unit, and we, at the request of Mr. Judd, we had him visit Kern Medical to look at the trauma center. I understand that trauma is actually up by, I believe, 30% since COVID began, for probably a variety of reasons. But we had a meeting with the heads of the various departments, medical departments at Kern Medical, so they were able to have a dialogue with the Surgeon General. And then we went over to the Public Health Building and had a business roundtable. Obviously, when I received the communication from the White House, I said, okay, well, this is something for our ad hoc committee to work on. And so thank you, Supervisor Maggard, for your help in getting folks there from the business community. But I think we did a marvelous job of balancing the need for a wide swath of representation from our business, education, healthcare, and faith-based community, with a need to socially distance and keep people 6 feet apart. And so seating was limited. There were a lot of folks we probably would have liked to have had there that just based on the need for space, we were unable to accommodate. Would have loved to have, of course, every member of the board be able to participate, but in light of Brown Act and just space, I felt that we should just keep it to the ad hoc membership. So I appreciate your understanding there. But I would have loved for you, and Supervisor Couch, you were in attendance for the tour for your efforts on the mobile unit. So that was great to have you there. I think the deliverable, one of the big deliverables was what Supervisor Maggard touched on as far as if we're able to demonstrate a plan. I think there's some of it's incumbent upon us, but to assist us in getting faster test turnaround time with the reagent. That was one of the best things that we heard, that we may get some federal help on that. I think we demonstrated to the Surgeon General that we're very much on top of this. He complimented us as far as our collaboration with other agencies, nonprofit, private, and government, and was very impressed with the group that we were able to put together from the ag sector, mining, aerospace, oil, faith-based, education, restaurants, salons, gyms. So I think we covered it pretty well as far as the different agencies that are being impacted. But I think what this continues to come down to is he stressed the need for social distancing, wearing masks, and washing your hands. And those are things that I think that we all know, but the discussion was about how we can all let our guard down once we're out of the business environment, we're not out shopping, et cetera. When we get to our own homes and our own backyards and we're having friends and family over, the degree to which the disease is mainly spreading in those environments versus in the business sector, which begs the question, then why is business being shut down? And that's something that I continue to struggle with the logic there. It seems that's an easier thing, perhaps, for the governor's administration to target as far as shutting down. Much more difficult to dictate to people how they operate in their own personal space, their own homes, their own backyards, et cetera. But that does seem to be where, in my view, where we need to be focusing, and we need to be doing everything that we can as individuals to help our businesses reopen, our churches reopen, and our schools reopen. And those three different sectors, and probably others I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, are the ones that are truly suffering. My kids are home, distance learning. I have 4, 8th grade, 6th grade, 3rd grade, 1st grade. It's tough. And we have county employees, and there are people in the private sector, obviously, that are all struggling with this. Our first responders that have kids, and they're having to juggle that. And so the goal needs to be for us to reopen. But when the governor continues to move the goalposts on us, when he continues to change the metrics, it just continues to, I think, give us all a sense of, frustration and feeling defeated that we're never going to get out of this if you keep changing the rules. And that, I believe, is why we need to, as a board, make a statement to the state that acknowledges the successes that we have here in Kern, the things that we've been doing right. Mr. Constantine just gave numbers that said, hey, without these additional modifiers, without this new equity measurement, we should be open. We should be in the red tier. We should be allowing restaurants to open to some extent, churches, gyms, et cetera. But because of these new rules that we just heard about on what, Mr. Alsop, Wednesday of last week, now we're set back again. So I have some suggestions for some language, and I'd like to make a referral to the CAO's office. And so essentially, I'd like to ask the CAO, in working with the public health department, to bring back a resolution for the board to consider our next board meeting. The resolution should lay out the seriousness of COVID-19 and that we must do everything we can to continue to manage the spread so that our hospital systems are not overwhelmed. State rulemaking and directives should be focused on flattening the curve, which we are doing here in Kern County, demanding the governor provide clarity and consistency in his directives to counties in dealing with COVID-19. And Mr. Alsop, we are not alone in our frustration over these new rules. We've been in contact with the California State Association of Counties, other public health departments, and everyone that we have spoken to feels the same way about this continual moving of the goalposts, this continual change in objectives that we're expected to achieve, which makes our businesses, our schools, and our churches stay closed longer and longer and longer. Demanding that the governor and his administration work more closely with all counties, not just Kern, in developing a pathway to address COVID-19 in our community and provide for increased but limited business reopening. Demanding that the governor not continue to move the goalpost on counties, adding additional criteria to the metrics the state is using to determine increased business activity, and getting our kids back in the classroom. Demanding that the governor bases opening on overall case rates and testing positivity rate, not these new added-on modifiers that penalize us for a voluntary action. To say that we are not having enough people go and voluntarily test, even though we have more testing sites than any Central Valley county, is unfair. I mean, how do you compel people to go and get tested if they don't desire to? And one part of that actually is some things that we talked about the Surgeon General about yesterday, which is getting more tests available that are not quite as intrusive, not as uncomfortable, not the swabs that, go and, tickle the back of your skull, so to speak, but are a lot easier for people to deal with, less of an inhibitor for folks to want to go get tested, and then, of course, our efforts to have a faster turnaround time as far as those tests results coming through. We talked about a test that could turn around in 15 minutes at our meeting. And so those are the kinds of results that we truly need in order to have effective contact tracing. Contact tracing doesn't work if it takes 14 days to get a test result. And so we need to be moving in that direction. And once again, the Surgeon General indicated that he would be more than happy to work with us to try and make the tools we need available to us to achieve that. Demand that the governor acknowledge and give counties credit for the work they've done to flatten the curve. Boy, that hasn't happened, but it needs to. Investments in testing capacity, tracing, and containment. Decreasing hospital rates, which we have done. Mr. Constantine, you, I think, gave some statistics on where we are with hospitals in recent days. And I think we have somewhere in the ballpark of about 80 ICU beds, and I think we have nearly 50 available right now. I may be wrong, I don't know where we are today, but I think I might be in the neighborhood of correct.
You're correct, Supervisor Scrivener, through the chair. They've come down. Our availability of beds is just much better than it's ever been. We have 932 available beds. That's much higher than it's been. We've trended up quite a bit. We have 47 available ICU beds. Currently, as of today, we have 18 hospitalized in the ICU and 67 hospitalized. Those numbers are very low, so we've been trending the right direction for some time.
Excellent. And that's what we were told we were doing this for, right? I mean, the shutdown, the flattening the curve, et cetera, was so our hospitals were not inundated with patients, so we didn't have to choose between two people who got the remaining ventilator. And so here we've achieved it. We continue to achieve it. We've spent how much? $12 million to bring on more ICU nurses through a contract. Yet, rather than say, hey, Kern County, you're doing a great job, you can move into the next tier, open more of your businesses, let your kids go back to school. Now it's, no, we're going to penalize you because we don't think you've had enough people go through your test sites, which is a voluntary action. It's unfair, it's arbitrary, and we, along with the other counties, need to push back on that. The counties need to be judged on simple, achievable, and measurable objectives. Our businesses, our churches, and our schools should not bear the full burden for people not getting tested, which is a voluntary action once again. And so I'd like to ask the board to support that referral to the CAO to bring back a resolution to express these points to the governor.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener. Could we add one point to that? And that is that, and I don't know the date of this, but it's within the last 2, 3, 4 weeks that the CDC actually came out and said, do not go get tested unless you feel like you have symptoms. And I feel like people have actually followed that directive here. I've heard people tell me that, hey, I'm not going to go get tested unless I feel sick, unless I exhibit symptoms. So the state is giving us the exact opposite message from what the Center for Disease Control is giving us.
Happy to add that. I think that's a great point. So that was, yeah, I'd like to make the motion, and so would you second it, Supervisor?
Absolutely. I second the motion.
Okay,
So any comments?
Yes.
Okay, Supervisor Gleason.
Thanks. Thanks. Great job, the ad hoc committee. Zach, thank you very much. Mike, great job. Appreciate all we're doing. We're on top of this thing as best we can, and that's what we can control. Matt, can I ask you a couple questions, please? You talked a little bit earlier about we had been meeting positive test case metrics, 6.5, the requirement was 7. That threshold had been modified because obviously we're not testing enough, according to the governor. So my question to you is, do we have the capability to meet that change in the testing requirement that the governor is imposing upon us?
Yes, sir. We have a tremendous amount of capacity that's underutilized. Many of our testing sites are below 50%. Some are below 25%. So we have the capacity. We've taken away all the barriers. It's free. You don't have to have symptoms. We have sites. We have 11 sites. We have now 2 mobile sites. We bring it to you. In fact, the state's talking about giving us another mobile site for a few days. So all the barriers are gone. Just the demand has been reduced quite a bit since early July.
Do you anticipate that we're going to meet that new metric that the governor is imposing upon us?
We are going, the testing,
Of the
amount of
testing,
tests.
getting up 605 or something like that, we need to do more per day?
Right now, we have to test 607 people more every day going forward.
Are we going to be able to meet that?
We're gonna be-
I'm fully endorsing what the ad hoc committee is suggesting and telling the governor to better understand and better lead us and give us metrics that work for us and define our capabilities. But in case he does not respond positively to that, are we capable of meeting his new demands?
It'll be a significant challenge for us to meet it.
So you don't think we will?
I think it'll be difficult to meet it.
I don't know what else to do. Is our marketing doing well? Are we marketing this as best we can?
Yes, sir. We're marketing a lot on all different aspects in different venues, trying to get more information out. We always talk about it, so I can't imagine we could possibly do any more on marketing.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. I just, my hat's off to the ad hoc committee. I think you guys have been spectacular, and the team involved with everything we're doing to manage this. And the bottom line is the health of our community, and the bottom line for Kern County is the health of our community is in as good a shape as we can get it right now, and it's progressing in a correct direction. Be damned what the state's dictates are to us. We're managing as best we can, and I'm very pleased with what we're doing. So I'm going to vote yes and support the resolution.
Thank you. Supervisor Magro, do you have another comment? Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. It occurred to me with regard to marketing, I don't know how maybe this is already in process, but I was watching the Surgeon General. I looked up some things about his visit to Las Vegas last night. And in Las Vegas, they had an effort to reach, apparently there's a significant issue with indigenous people in the Las Vegas area contracting the disease. So they developed a program for masks that are being given out in the community that are in Spanish. And they have a phrase that, tries to make it catchy. And, now we see, masks that have all kinds of different, logos and whatnot on them. So maybe that might be another opportunity for us to just find these masks and get them out in the community that have some kind of a message on them that might be helpful. When we're done voting on this, I misspoke earlier. I have to correct one thing I said about my referral about the haulers.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Any other comments before we have a motion and a second, but I don't see any other comments? Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Supervisor Mager, would you like to correct your
Yes, thank you.
referral?
Thank you. I misspoke. I believe that the request is for the time to conclude those audits for Public Works is for January 31. I think I said January 1 by mistake. So it's to extend it through January 31. I just wanted that to be clear.
That is what the request was.
Oh, is that what I said?
No, I don't know what you requested, but the request was.
Oh, he did say 30. Okay, very good. Thank you. I miss. Yeah, good. Thank you. Glad somebody does.
Any other board member announcements or reports? Okay, I think that takes us over to item 27. 27 is a proposed allocation of $1 million of Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, also known as the CARES Act, Coronavirus Relief Funds, for the housing of the Harvest Program and request for authorization to sign agreements. Mr. Alsop.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board. Jim Zerfus from my office will handle this item.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman and members of the board. This item is a request for your board to approve the proposed use of $1 million in CARES Act coronavirus relief funds for the Housing for the Harvest program and for authorization to sign an agreement with CAPK, the Community Action Partnership of Kern, to serve as the local administrator for that program. Funding for this program would come from the $8.57 million of unallocated coronavirus relief funds. Those are from the $157 million the county received. This is a portion that was reserved for emerging needs. On July 24th, 2020, Governor Gavin Newsom announced and launched the launch of the Housing for the Harvest program. The program is designed to provide temporary shelter for essential farm worker and food processing employees who are either COVID-19 positive or exposed to COVID-19 and do not require hospitalization and don't have a place to self-isolate. This program provides a safe and suitable place to isolate to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 among their households and their communities. This program falls in line with the state's blueprint for a safer economy to identify and plan for potential areas of risk in an effort to reduce case transmission and allow the county to advance to a lower tier. The program will also provide additional outreach to present these services and increase COVID-19 testing. The Housing for the Harvest program will build on the local efforts such as the mobile testing units, including partners such as Kern County Farm Bureau and the United Farm Workers. It's also important to note that a bit earlier, Mr. Constantine commented on the health equity metric, the new metric that the state's imposing, and it deals with this differential between the different quartiles within our local community. In particular, noting that the increased case rate within the lower socioeconomic areas of the county. This program actually targets those and would benefit those areas such as low income and that are primarily minority in residence. It would protect those workers by giving them a safe place to rest and recover, as well as their families and coworkers and others that they may come into contact with. So by delivering a program that is there to aid the agricultural workers, processors, and packers, this inherently would go to aid the county's ability to meet those metrics with regard to the health equity metric that has just been announced by the state. The Housing for the Harvest program is a partnership with the state. The state books the hotel rooms and pays for those hotel rooms for the residents. So the way that this program operates is a farm worker either comes into contact with someone who's COVID-19 positive or tests positive for COVID-19. We will be working with our mobile testing units as well as all the testing sites to make this program available. Once they are determined by a medical professional to be eligible and they don't have a place to self-isolate, we, through CAPK would contact the state the state would then make arrangements for a place for this individual to self-isolate. That person would be provided with meals as well as daily case management through CAPK until that person is able to return to their family and return to the workforce. Roughly, that's between 10 to 14 days, depending on symptoms and depending on whether they actually had tested positive or just had contact with someone that was positive. For the $1 million in program funding, we do anticipate that this will be able to provide this non-congregate shelter for 570 individuals. Could be more or less depending on the length of stay for those individuals. And again, this program is being done in concert with the state. So this is a state program that the county is adopting locally and making available locally. There are several other counties that have already implemented or in the process of implementing this same program. Fresno County, Santa Barbara County, San Joaquin County, and Riverside, and a few others. So this is targeting really the most vulnerable population in our community, and really the area that I think has been the source for a lot of the positive tests, at least historically, and this is an opportunity to try to affect that with a program in concert with the state. So I would be happy to answer any questions. We do have Traco Matthews that's available on the phone. Traco is with Community Action Partnership of Kern, who will be implementing this program in concert with the county, so he's available to speak and answer questions to the board as well.
Thank you, Mr. Service. Is Mr. Matthews, does he want to speak right now, or is he just on the line to answer questions? Mrs. Service, do you know?
We'll give him the opportunity.
I don't
Sure.
want to put him on the spot.
This is Traco Matthews.
Okay. Hello.
I don't have anything to share per se. I think Jim covered everything accurately and appropriately. I'm mostly here to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I did the math on my phone there real quick. $1 million divided by, I think you said 570 people, and then divided by 14, which would be the longest stay, is about $125 a day. That's for a room and 3 meals a day, or what are they receiving, plus the case management?
Sure, Supervisor Couch. The $1 million, so the state pays for the room itself. So we are not paying for the room. What we're paying for is 3 meals a day delivered from a local restaurant that would be contracted with CAPK to provide those meals. So 3 meals a day provides for case management, so someone with CAPK checking in with those individuals on a daily basis. It does provide for financial assistance in the amount of $500 to the participant to help offset their costs at home while they're unable to be participating in the workforce. So that's a part of that cost as well as other ancillary costs to the program.
Thank you. Supervisor Maggard, are you punched in to speak, or is that from last time? Okay. Any questions, comments from the board? We have one public speaker.
Yes.
Thank you.
We do have, and you received an email from Emma De La Rosa from Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability. Ms. De La Rosa would like to address your board regarding this item. Ms. De La Rosa, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
Good morning again. My name is Emma.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm hearing the feedback. Okay.
We're not hearing anything on our end.
Okay, awesome. So first of all, I wanted to thank you again for the opportunity. And also I wanted to acknowledge the frustration that I'm seeing from the board in regards to this health equity index and reiterate that this program will definitely help meet that new metric, especially if the board takes our recommendations to work with CBOs and grassroots organizations. Again, we have been in the forefront from the very beginning, and we have established relationships with our most vulnerable populations, and we can definitely bring in the testing that is necessary to move to the next tier. I'm happy to hear CAPK USW is going to be involved in this program, but it is important to include other CBOs and grassroots organizations to do the outreach and wraparound services. Also, according to anecdotal reports, individuals who have tested positive have not been contacted and provided resources for quarantine or contact tracing. And this is pretty interesting given the fact that Mr. Contestine just mentioned that the demand has been low since July. So we are concerned that solely providing information about this new program at the mobile ties may not suffice to reach our ag workers, especially if there isn't any follow-up after testing positive. So we propose to address this gap, again, by urging the board to apply the state's recommendations to partner with CBOs and grassroots organizations for outreach and wraparound services. We also recommend you to to send formal notification and enforce that labor contractors and employers share this information with their employees, include housing for the harvest, paid sick leave, FFCRA, and access to PPE. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with CAPK and other CBOs and grassroots organizations to provide the outreach and wraparound services to ensure that our agriculture workers are provided with the resources they deserve and also help meet this new metric. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
That concludes public comment on this item.
Okay. I'll return it to any comments by staff on the public comments?
Yes, Supervisor Couch, we have the comments in writing
Okay.
from the Leadership Council, and we'll certainly be taking those into mind. We are coordinating both with nonprofits as well as the agricultural community and making sure that this program is rolled out in a way that people are aware. The only other thing I'd like to add is in my recap of what's included in that cost, I neglected to include transportation. So transportation to and from, which I do want to just make a note that that transportation is being provided, if necessary, through the California Veterans Assistance Foundation with their drivers and their vehicles. So it'll be in coordination with them, which is a good partnership as well.
Thank you. So I'll return it to the board for any other questions, comments, or action.
Move approval.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Service. I suppose you're still there because you're here for item 28 as well, which is a proposed memorandum of understanding with the City of Bakersfield to receive State Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, or the CARES Act, funding to supplement the Kern County Business Relief and the nonprofit COVID-19 Economic Support Grant Programs. Mr. Alsop, over to Mr. Service.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch and members of the board. This item before you today is a memorandum of understanding between the City of Bakersfield and the County of Kern to really help the city implement portions of their plans to use their coronavirus relief funds. The state of California in their 2021 budget included $500 million of coronavirus relief funds being allocated to cities to deal with various aspects of COVID-19. Of that, the City of Bakersfield received about $33.5 million, and on August 12th, the City Council of the City of Bakersfield approved a plan on how to implement and utilize that funding. Since then, the city and the county have been in discussions about how we can work together to leverage the existing county programs such as the Kern Recovers programs to help Bakersfield utilize that funding in an efficient and effective manner according to their plan. And what the city has proposed is an allocation of $5.275 million, which would allocate $3 million into the Kern Recovers for Small Business Forgivable Loan Program to continue to make those forgivable loans to businesses within the city limits of Bakersfield. Additionally, the city is proposing to inject up to $2 million into the nonprofit grant program. So this is the Kern Recovers nonprofit grant program that is currently underway and we are currently accepting applications for, and I would continue to encourage any Kern County nonprofits to submit applications online to that program as we're currently accepting those. The city's allocation would go to inject $2 million into this program that would fund nonprofits doing work in the Metro Bakersfield area. So that's really the purpose here, is to utilize the county's program design and infrastructure so that the city and the county working together can avoid duplicate efforts, expedite program delivery, and more effectively use taxpayer resources to deliver these programs. The City Council will be hearing this item on the 23rd, and I'll be in attendance to represent the county. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions. I believe that the City Manager, Christian Clegg, is on the call, and so I will turn it over to him to make a few comments as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Clegg, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
Yes, good morning, board members. Christian Clegg here with the City of Bakersfield. We are keenly interested in supporting our local businesses and our local nonprofits, and we feel fortunate to have CARES funding and through direct allocation from the state, largely through advocacy efforts by the city and as well as I think the Kern County as one of the large cities in the state. And wanted to thank the staff at the county for demonstrating a remarkable partnership. We recognize the quality programs that are already in place, and as Mr. Zervis pointed out, there's an opportunity to leverage those existing programs, reduce confusion, create consistency, and leverage those efficiencies. And so we feel very excited to be able to provide funding to those programs to reach more of the residents of Bakersfield and Kern County, and look forward to this partnership. And again, thank you and thank your staff.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. Thank you for being with us at our meeting today. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, but I hope to do that soon. I'll return this to the board for questions, comments, or action. Hopefully, and action.
And I just wanted to let you know, Chair, that we do not have any other public comment regarding this item.
No further public comments. Thank you.
Supervisor Couch, I'll make a motion on staff's recommendation. I want to thank Mr. Zervis, as always, for his exceptional work putting together this program and continuing to help us administer it.
Indeed.
Second.
You have a motion and a second by Supervisor Gleason. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Now we need to add one other item to the agenda. This will take a moment, so please be patient. I have a request, or I'm requesting a motion to consider a non-agenda item, which will be item number 28A, to make a finding that a need to take action on a non-agenda item occurred after the agenda was posted because of the governor recently changing our monitoring criteria to add overall COVID-19 testing rates. County staff required time to review and develop a plan to increase testing rates. The design plan was finalized after the posting of the agenda, but as time is of the essence in increasing testing volume, immediate action is necessary. County employees are essential infrastructure workers, and maintaining a healthy workforce is necessary in order for the county to continue to carry out its critical missions. Increased COVID-19 testing of county employees will help ensure the workforce is healthy and will help reduce the spread of COVID-19. Further, the governor made recent changes to county monitoring criteria related to COVID-19 through the Blueprint for a Safer Economy. The new criteria considers average daily testing volume as part of the components considered in allowing lifting of the restrictions of various activities, including opening more businesses and allowing children to attend school in person. This item seeks to authorize immediate implementation of an employee COVID-19 testing plan in an effort to significantly increase testing in Kern County. Item 28A reads, as a proposed resolution implementing the Kern County Employees COVID-19 Testing Program for employees of all bargaining units effective September 15th, 2020 through December 30th, December 30 of 2020. Fiscal impact, $1.8 million estimated.
So first, Mr. Chair, the board needs to make a motion, second,
motion on
and
that.
vote to add the item, and then we can hear the item.
Motion to add the item.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Mr. Alsop.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. I too would like to just at the top here take the opportunity to thank Mr. Zerfus for all of his work navigating the CARES Act and putting together everything that's required. It's a lot of work, and I do appreciate his leadership. And he would typically be handling even this item. There's a CARES Act component to this, but given the emergency status, I'm handling this myself. And I would also like to thank Mr. Devin Brown of my office, our Chief Human Resources Officer, for his quick and hard work on this in short amount of time. We're bringing this emergency item this morning to your board, which proposes the adoption of a resolution implementing a countywide employee COVID-19 testing program for all employees effective today through December 30th, 2020. On March 4th, as you all know, of this year, Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency in California due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Throughout the first 6 months of the declared state of emergency, federal, state, and local public health officials have identified the importance of testing to reduce the community spread of the coronavirus, especially among essential workers. All county workers are essential, critical infrastructure workers as defined by the Centers for Disease Control and the California Department of Public Health. To ensure the most effective means of identifying those employees quickly, regular testing of employees is highly encouraged. With regular testing, the county is better positioned to continue and maintain essential government services during the pandemic and reduce asymptomatic spread. On August 28, 2020, Governor Newsom changed the state's metrics for reopening the economy in California. He introduced the blueprint for a safer economy. This structure includes a color system that counties can move up and down, either loosening or tightening the restrictions on various activities related to businesses in each particular category. This past Thursday, the governor further introduced a new component to that blueprint. He added an adjustment factor, which was discussed here by both Mr. Constantine and members of your board today, adjustment factor to each county's average daily testing percentage based upon how they compare to the statewide daily testing average. Counties that are above the statewide average receive a reduction in their number, while counties below receive a penalty. Kern County is below, and we are being penalized, and our case rates are arbitrarily being increased. The stated purpose of the adjustment factor is to ensure that counties are continuing to test at high levels. The impact of this adjustment penalty is a further slide in the timing of when restrictions on businesses and activities are modified in our county. This proposed resolution adopts a countywide testing program for our employee base. We can collectively improve our testing average and ensure the timely identification and isolation of positive COVID-19 cases among our workforce by adopting regular testing protocols. The program provides 8 hours of paid time off accruals to any employee of our county who completes 6 COVID-19 tests between today and December 30th, 2020. To be eligible for and receive the paid time off, each employee must submit proof of the completion of testing by January 15th, 2021. Upon completion, the employee will be credited with an additional 8 hours of paid time off next year. Employees who choose to participate in the program will be allowed to take COVID-19 tests on paid county time. Employees must make every effort to minimize the amount of county time used to complete testing and pre-scheduled use of county time with their immediate supervisors. Employees are also strongly encouraged to utilize the free county testing sites to complete the requirements of this program. Participation in the program does not alter the requirements already in place when an employee tests positive for COVID-19. Employees may use any available paid leave time during subsequent periods of quarantine or isolation, including the leave provided to the emergency responders and healthcare workers, and the leave provided through the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. The Myers-Milius-Brown Act provides an emergency exception to the mandatory requirements of providing notice and an opportunity to bargain prior to a resolution such as this being adopted by your Board of Supervisors today. As noted above, the county has been in a state of public health emergency for many months, and the state of California specifically has been in such a state since March 4th, 2020. The adoption of this program is urgent considering the recent revelation that our ability to open the economy hinges on increased testing. We will adapt. Upon adoption, we will provide our recognized employee organizations with the required notice and entertain any requests to meet and discuss the terms of this program as soon as possible. Therefore, today it is recommended that your board adopt this resolution implementing the Kern County employee COVID-19 testing program for all employees in all bargaining units across the county effective September 15th, 2020 through December 30th, 2020. And we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Alsop. No public comments on this item?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll return it to the board for questions, comments, or action.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Gleason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great idea. Great idea, and I'm fully supportive, and I'll make a motion to support staff's recommendation.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Please cast your votes. I'm sorry, Supervisor Scribner.
No, my apologies. I didn't punch in, but something occurred to me. We're right across the street, essentially, from the city of Bakersfield and their employee force, and so I'd just like to ask staff to reach out to them and see if this, if we're going to have a mobile testing site, et cetera, that they may want to participate. Mr. Alsop, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, sir. Supervisor Scribner, members of the board, in preparation for this item, as a courtesy, we did in fact, Mr. Zerfus yesterday let all city managers throughout the county know that we were bringing this item to your board today, what we were planning on proposing, and in that email encouraged them to consider similar resolutions before their own legislative bodies. I can tell you that starting next week, we will bring a federally sponsored mobile testing unit into the Metro Bakersfield area, and among the stops, likely next week and the week after, will be the Bakersfield Civic Center, where we will encourage employees not only in this building, but in the courts and in the city of Bakersfield, all across the Civic Center and all across downtown to go get tested. And we'll be doing that. That mobile site will be making stops at many highly populated county buildings throughout the Metro Bakersfield area. And this will be an exercise we'll be undertaking for the foreseeable future, given the changes that were made by the state last week.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Couch.
You bet. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. That takes us to the end of the morning agenda. I just need a motion to adjourn to closed session.
So moved.
Thank you. Without objection, we're adjourned.